Chief Technical Officer of Asharami Energy, Leste Aihevba, says that integration across Africa, even from an energy perspective, goes far beyond energy. Speaking to CNBC Africa at the Africa Energy Week, he highlights that inter-country collaboration and seamless policies are crucial to unlock the continent's full potential.
Integration across Africa, even from an energy perspective, is way beyond just energy. There is a lot of effort still required just to make sure that the collaboration among countries works. If something as simple as inter-country travel is not that open, imagine an investor from Angola who wants to travel to Nigeria or to Ghana to invest. He has a lot of bottlenecks just to be able to travel across. So most of the time, we then have people who are restricted to their local environments or a few places where they can travel. Beyond that, then government needs to think about cross-country collaboration so that you use platforms like maybe the ECOWAS, African organization, to actually have seamless single policies that everybody can sign up to. That would be different.
Sure. But continuing on, I mean, you've mentioned there are regional bodies that have existed, that have operated in achieving greater integration and achieving some of those objectives that you've made mention of. But when we also look at now the recent progress or the recent impact of Nigeria's Industry Petroleum Act, just bring us in terms of that and its impact from a legislative perspective.
Yeah. So the Petroleum Industry Act has been actually almost like a game changer for Nigeria. The objectives of the Industry Act was actually to make the Nigerian energy industry, local players more relevant, international investors actually more comfortable with investing, stabilized policy. And so that's all working fine. There are still a few areas where policy needs to be maybe cleaned up, redefined, but on the average, it's definitely delivering much more value. We have much more local players, and then we have a few international players coming in and investing big billions. So it's actually working in terms of attracting investors as well as making the local industry grow. Under the PIA, we're actually thinking of getting to 2.5 million barrels and then even 3 million barrels by 2020. So there's a significant growth here.
So you make mention of the progress in increasing oil capacity, and I'd also like to then bring in exploring, some of the untapped reserves, some of the untapped energy potential that stands within the continent, which has been mentioned here far and wide. When we look at drilling in the Nigerian context, just bring us in responsible and ethical drilling. What is that looking like now, and is there room for improvement?
Yes, so globally there's actually a shortage of drilling rigs. So while there is oil and gas to be tapped, that's key part of the value chain, which is actually going to drill and bring this to surface. We just don't have enough equipment to do that. So companies like Sahara, for example, are actually, going into then acquire own rigs or getting up to 7 rigs just to be able to tap the resources that we have. And a number of other people are actually also doing that. So between 2024 and now, there's almost like a 20-30% increase in the number of rigs that are available. And this kind of capacity building is required to just ensure that we can actually access the reserves that we have.
I also really want to explore collaboration. Are there opportunities or progress in terms of local content development?
Certainly. So the first step to that is the IOCs are pulling out mainly from onshore local environments and going more and more into the offshore. So the local industry, both in terms of operators as well as service providers, are actually stepping in and filling this gap. So like was mentioned here earlier, 3 to 4 major IOCs have pulled out, but this space has been filled by local operators. Even with that, production is growing. So we've actually added, like also mentioned here, to 300,000 barrels, even with the IOCs pulling out. So yes, opportunity is there. Local companies are coming in, and we are seeing that growth, which is definitely an indication that local capacity can actually produce.
And, the tagline for African Energy Week is making energy poverty history by 2030. And we understand that that year is not too far away from today. The question I then pose to you is, what are some of the changes or the developments you anticipate, particularly from Nigeria's perspective, in terms of the growth of energy access and investment in Africa?
Yeah. So generally, I mean, the reason why we look for energy is actually a very major catalyst to human development. And so the energy access for Nigeria is important such that we can lift the whole continent out of the poverty, energy poverty as we call it, because then industrialization, many other things that you need to do are dependent on energy. So my vision is to actually see that penetration of energy go to local communities just so have, first off, they get the basic essentials of life, and then empower small and medium scale enterprises with access to energy to actually be able to contribute to the continent's growth. Yeah.
And that was Leste Aihevba, the Chief Technical Officer at Asharami Energy.